So what happens when you hear that music on Instagram? Well, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, there is a countdown that happens before we actually go live. And we are live now, live. And we are talking about employee succession planning today. I love this topic because it is something that people don't normally talk about in a lot of organizations. I mean, people talk about employee growth, employee development, what else do they talk about? That's a star employee. We got to get them, we got to do something for them. But when it comes to actually planning it out, that's where a lot of companies fall short. There are a lot of awesome companies out there that do not fall short and have done a great job. And today, I want to share how a company can do that. All right, so let's just get right into it. I love that little intro. All right, so if you are joining me today, I would love for you to hit the like button. And I'd also like for you to let me know where you are joining from. So just post in the comments where you're joining from. Hello, Jerry Ree. You are live, yes. So you asking me if you're live? Yes, you're live. I'm going to show your comment up on the screen. There you are, joining from Twitter. And hi on Instagram, Dace Deputant. You are from St. Albert, Alberta, Canada. That is so awesome. So nice of you to join. Thank you so much for joining in. And Jerry Ree, thank you so much for joining in as well. If you can let me know where you're joining in from, what part of the world you're coming in from, I'd love to know. You can just put that in the comments. All right, so we're just going to get started. Oh, and if you're watching this as a replay, just give me a hashtag replay and go ahead and start commenting away as you learn. And all of this that I am teaching on my lives is part of a program that I provide called the Complete HR Blueprint. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to Key HR Services website. That's my company. And it's spelled KIYHR.ca. And you can search for the Complete HR Blueprint and you'll find that program there. And so let's just get right into it. So what exactly is succession planning? Well, there's two types of succession planning, actually. You can create a succession plan. Blah, 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 blah. You can create a succession plan for your company if you are ever planning on eventually one day selling the company or passing it on to a relative. That you can do as an overarching succession plan. For employees, succession planning looks a little bit different inside the organization. That's where you start identifying who should move up in the organization, who should stay as a specialist in the organization and not have any managerial duties, who is completely, fully successful and does a really good job on the front lines and should remain there, and then which employees actually need improvement. So those are the four different types, and we're going to get into them a little bit deeper, but that's a overall definition of succession planning. So why is succession planning so important? Because if you don't properly identify where an employee belongs in the organization, you will have some issues in the future with employees who don't grow, or employees that you've identified to grow but don't want to grow, they want to stay in their role. Misidentification, improperly planning for these employees can really cause issues. We have a comment here from Young Homie asking me if I'm sure. Maybe elaborate on that for me, please, Young Homie. What am I sure about? I'm not sure what you're asking me. All right. So on to the next thing. How do you know what to do if you want an employee? How do you identify employees in the organization? Well, first, you have to have a plan to identify who they are. And there's actually a process that you go through where you have your employees fill out a questionnaire so you understand where they're coming from. You sit down and you have a conversation with them to understand what their goals are, what their short-term goals are, and what their long-term goals are. Once you have that conversation and they complete the questionnaire, then you can really determine if that's a good path for them. Sometimes the performance that you've seen in that employee, that might not be a good path. So then you have to have a discussion on, well, is this even the right thing for you? Are you sure this is really what you want to do? You say you want to be a manager, but you're not really showing me any of the signs that you want to grow. You know, you come in, day out, and you do this, but you're not really showing me that you have the growth mindset to do this. So having those kind of conversations is definitely key. And so, as I mentioned earlier, there are 4 different types of individuals or 4 different types of categories that individuals fall under. Number 1 is high potentials. Number 2 is highly effectives. Number 3 are fully successfuls. And number 4 is people who need improvement. So the high potentials are those individuals that have shown that they have all the qualifications to be a leader. They've shown that they're committed to the company. They have shown that they know their job very well. They've shown some leadership qualities where people just naturally gravitate towards them for questions and answers. And they just have all of these qualities where you want to identify them as a high potential. Now, number 2 to that, on the flip side of that, is the employee has to want to be able to grow into a leadership position. So if you've identified them as a high potential, but they are not interested at all in being a high potential, then you have to have that conversation with that person. I can give you an example, actually, of an engineer. He was a senior engineer that I used to work with, and he was excellent at his job. People looked to him for so many different things. He had been in this position for a very, very long time. And I had a conversation with him. I said, hey, do you want to, manage the engineering department? And he said, nope, absolutely not. I am happy to come in, do my role, and leave. I don't want to do anything more than that. And so we had to make a change and try to figure out if we were going to bring a manager from outside the company in, or look at the other engineers to see if any of them were available to identify and maybe put them into a managerial role. And maybe down the road, because maybe at that point they weren't ready. So number 2, so you have your high potentials, and then you have your highly effectives. Those are individuals who maybe they don't have a department to lead or to manage. They could be those individuals who don't want to lead or manage, but they are extremely essential for the organization. Maybe they have a very unique position within the organization. Maybe a software developer, and they're very, very effective in the role that they do, and they want to stick in there, but they don't have anybody to manage. So you want to identify who those individuals are, and you want to make sure that you are staying on top of their professional development, making sure that they're growing within their role. because you don't always just grow upwards. You also can grow this way as well and gain more knowledge. So once you've identified your highly effectives, you need to create a plan for them, with them. This is key. You can create a plan all you want for somebody, but if they're not involved in the plan for their own life and their own career growth, it's going to fail. And hello, HR Talk JC. How you doing? Where are you joining us from today? I'd love to see that in the comments. And so continuing on, then you have a fully successful employee. So they're the ones that maybe they don't fall under the highly effective role. They don't have a specialized role. They're not quite at that high potential area yet, but they are doing everything that's expected of them. And maybe sometimes they go above and beyond. New York. Well, hello there. I'm coming to you from Alberta, Canada. So on the other side of probably straight north of Montana. So it's very nice to see that you're tuning in from New York. I just love it when I see people from all over the place. That just makes my day. Okay, so yeah, the fully successful individuals are, oh, you love Canada. I love Canada too. I love that you love Canada. That's awesome. Go Ticats. Oh my gosh, that burns my ears. Oh my gosh, I grew up in Toronto and they were a big rival of ours. But that's okay because I love sports and I love competition. I think competition is healthy. So awesome. All right. So people who are fully successful need to still have the ability to grow within their role and maybe one day become a highly effective employee or a high potential employee. So you don't want to rule them out. Even and having those conversations again with them is really going to help you get through that. I see we have another joiner on the StreamYard. If you want to give me a quick hello and where you're from, I'd love to hear where you're from and who you are. All right. And then lastly, you have the category of the individuals who need improvement. If they're in this category, a couple of things may have happened. They may be brand new to the role. So obviously they have to just get used to the position that they're in. They're new, they're green still. And you want to make sure that you have a good plan in place for those types of individuals to get them to the fully successful levels, the highly effective levels, and the high potential levels. However, on the flip side of that, you could have people who need improvement that have kind of just slipped through. Somehow they've managed to stay with the company, but they've never improved. And they may be individuals that you want to either decide on whether disciplinary action is needed, a performance improvement plan is needed, or if they need to exit the company. So that is always something that needs to be identified, not at succession planning time, at any time. You need to stay on top of that so that if there is somebody who is toxic in your environment, you need to take care of that so it doesn't spread throughout the rest of the company and create a culture that is unpleasant. All right, if you're liking what I'm sharing so far, give me a like, a comment, or a share. And if you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay and a like, a comment, or a share. Please and thank you. All right, so what you need to do, number 5, your step 5, is to start a plan for success. If you haven't done this in your organization yet, you need to do this. This is a super important part of employee retention and talent management. You want to plan for all your employees to succeed, no matter which silo they are in. HR talk, sometimes it's trauma, right? Like years of bad bosses and existing in a culture of fear. Sometimes as leaders, we need to recalibrate, especially if there's value in the employee and they're on the mend. Oh, Yeah, I love that. That is that is so true. You don't actually know what has happened in the past or what is going on in the employee's mind. And I think it's so important that that's where conversations have to happen. Communication is definitely the number one thing you need in your organization. You need to understand your employees. You need to just connect with them. And yeah, trauma is a huge factor in yeah, having a culture of fear. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you love my message today. I have my heart, like I have a real love for planning for succession for employees. I think that it really is one of those processes or strategies that just for some reason is often overlooked or not introduced. And it should be one of the first things that employers do with a new employee. And if you already have a bunch of employees and you do not have this in place, you need to get started for sure. Yeah, so plan for success, plan for a culture of growth, both laterally and upwards. It is so important that you make sure everybody falls in the right direction and that they're growing in whichever way they want to grow and who works for the company. Of course, if they want to start taking up knitting, that might not be something that you want to support in a widget manufacturing company. However, supporting them to enhance their skills or their knowledge, even if it's within the company, having a good mentorship program, a coaching program just within the company, having a shadow in place, all of these things are all part of succession planning. And of course, succession planning is connected to performance management and it's connected to training and development. So when all three of those are working well, you've just got a machine that's moving forward and you have really great culture. Yeah, and then the last thing that you want to do in your succession plan is make sure that you review and follow up constantly. The follow-up should be happening constantly, whether it's just in a ad hoc kind of conversation, or if it's officially every three months or every 6 months, follow up and find out if that's still the path that you want your employee on, and if that's the path they want to be on. That I think is definitely key. Reviewing it on a constant basis as much as you can is going to really truly make sure that you're all on the same path and you all still have the same vision. Because at the end of the day, the company vision is where you want to connect to. And if your employees have that vision that goes to your company vision, you're going to be set. And that's that. That is succession planning kind of in a nutshell. I think that you should definitely get on it if you're not on it right now. And I would love to hear just hashtag biggest takeaway. What's your biggest takeaway from this live stream today? Whether you're on the replay or you're on live right now, I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to learn more about this, I mentioned this at the beginning of this live, but if you weren't here, everything like this is included in my program, my 8-week program that has an 8-week course plus lifetime access to me. And succession planning is one of the modules that actually talent management is one of the modules within the course. And that's the complete HR blueprint. And you can find that on my company website at keyhr.ca. And that's spelled KIYHR.ca. And just look up the complete HR blueprint and you'll learn a little bit more about my history and what the blueprint has to offer. And you can book a call with me on there too if you want to learn more. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining my live today. I love the interaction. And until next week, have a great day. Oh, and in New York, HR Talk, happy Thanksgiving to you. And happy Thanksgiving to anybody else who is celebrating Thanksgiving right now. It's not Canada's Thanksgiving. We've already had ours in October, but happy Thanksgiving to you. You're welcome. Thank you very much for watching. Have an awesome Thanksgiving and holiday weekend. Take care. Bye.